Go.
Hey guys, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. How's it going?
Good.
Sorry about the crazy delay. We're only 45 minutes late. Um, but everyone go around of applesauce and thank Joe who
No, don't
stuck
thank
through it
me.
and figured out how to get it to work.
You know who we need to thank? Princess.
Yeah, thank Princess
I
as
think
well for
I think
helping
Princess
Joe.
did more legwork googling all of that. I just restarted my computer a bunch.
I
That
just
was the
gave
first
you
thing you did.
info and you just used it.
Yeah,
But yes,
awesome.
we're here.
44 minutes late. That's right. It wasn't
Yeah.
45, not
Yeah.
even close.
If it was
Yeah, we were
45, it'd be
yeah, we were
trouble.
pretty quick. Anyways,
But 44,
yeah, we're fine. We're fine. We made it. Okay, thank you all seriously for your patience. Thanks for waiting around for us. We appreciate that a lot. And we're happy to see you guys. We're happy to be here with you guys. This is one of the best days of our week. We love doing this show. So I'm glad that we get to be here. So yeah, without any further ado, I guess I'm your host for the day. We've got the star of the show, the brilliant, the wise Joe Anderson, who is just below me. Um,
the
that's
star
him.
is
Yep.
the chat. The star
And
is you guys.
we've got you're the star, Joe.
I'm not the star.
Yeah, yeah, you're the star.
I'm the producer with 10 thumbs tripping over them trying to figure out
Whoa,
YouTube.
you've got 10 thumbs and you're tripping over them.
10 thumbs.
Yes, okay. And we also have our beautiful chat room hostess and the one who really keeps track of us and makes all of this thing go really well and smoothly, cataloging all of the the topics for us and all of that. We've got Princess and you guys, and you guys or make what ultimately make this show go because otherwise, without you, we would not have a show. So we're happy that you guys are here with us, and yeah. So how you guys doing? Everyone out there doing awesome? How you doing? How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah. Baka's
With
having quality issues with YouTube. Don't know how to fix it. So you got blurry Don't Worry Wednesday.
oh well, you probably have the audio all right, right?
You know,
That's the most important part.
we've got uh YouTube issues too. So
Oh, do we? Yeah, YouTube didn't want us to stream today, but we made it work. Last time they were taking down our links, and this time they're taking down our show. But we're here, so let's actually get this show on the road without wasting too much more time, so that
hmm.
we can make up for lost time, hopefully.
Yep.
Um,
Vana says, Joe, I just wanted to say how grossly interesting the post on Instagram with the mushrooms is. Yeah. Um,
oh, I didn't see this.
that's because you don't follow me on Instagram.
I'm sorry, I
You
don't
don't. You
even
probably
have an
don't follow
Instagram.
anybody on Instagram.
That's correct.
Yeah, I found some in a vacant house that I was inspecting. There were some
Oh,
mushrooms growing on the carpet.
mm-hmm. Oh, I've
Yeah,
seen that.
it was
Yep.
beautiful. I was like, man, that's
Isn't that crazy?
great.
I've done a couple of houses like that where they
Hmm.
just you've got mushrooms growing out of the carpet, out of the walls.
Hmm.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Um, that's pretty gross. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and go down this list here of the people who've left us topics before. And if you are here, please let us know, and hopefully we'll be able to get to you.
Hmm.
So we've got Ian Lam, Helmarock Hero, Pear, Little McGee, Kishin Slayer, Ezekiel Games, Anonymous, two of them, uh, Peloan, Dracon, Lord Francium, Yume, Baka, and Saule. And while you guys figure out how to type into the chat, um, which shouldn't take long, I just want to say this is Don't Worry Wednesday. This is the show where we talk about whatever is on your mind, whatever you guys are going through in life. You know, we're here to basically be a friend. We aren't professional psychologists, psychiatrists, or anything like that, but we have lived lives and we've gone through enough troubles of our own to hopefully share some of the ways that we can, get through them together. A lot of times you guys know how to get out of your problems. A lot of times you guys know the solution. You know what's going on in your life better than we do. But sometimes just a little bit of encouragement can go a long way. Sometimes just a little bit of a different perspective, or even just talking about the issue out loud can really help our brains start to move forward and start to solve our issues that we're fully capable of solving, on our own. But it really helps to have extra people look at it, and a clear mind while we do so.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it looks like we've got with us, Baka is here.
Yep. Sola is here, and Yume is here.
I think Yume's here. I think there is an anonymous person with us here today.
Mm-hmm.
There is?
There was at one point. I don't know if they are here still.
They are here.
Okay. Sorry, I thought that was a question, the way you said there is.
Oh, sorry. That was a there
no,
is
I get it.
Statement.
Yes, I understand
now.
I get it. And Plowen goes by a different name on YouTube, but I don't see them in here quite yet. So if they join us later, that'd be cool. But perhaps next time.
Yeah.
If not else. Cool. Well, the first one on the list here that is with us would be Yume?
Anonymous?
No, actually anonymous. Yeah, anonymous. Okay. We'll do anonymous then. Perfect.
Yeah. We will. As soon as we get to it, we're going to get there. It's going to be great. You guys are going to love it.
As soon as we get to it, we're going to get there. I like that statement. That's so true.
Yes.
All right.
We even have a link in the chat now. Oh my gosh.
And it's not deleted instantaneously.
Thank you, YouTube.
Wow.
We love you.
YouTube, you're so
Thanks
fun.
for cooperating with us. We really appreciate it.
Yes. All right.
This one is we gotta kiss up to YouTube now.
Yeah, we gotta kiss up to YouTube now because they keep on.
They mess with our show.
Yeah, messing with our show. Okay. So this is from an anonymous person that sent it through email or Discord or whatever. And if you want to send a topic to us, you can remain anonymous by doing the same. Email bww@bss.studio.
Yes.
You can go to our website and put a topic down at bss.studio. Send a Discord message or type it in the chat. But this one is titled Uncomfortable Favors. Uncomfortable Favors by Anonymous. And Princess is going to do the honors of reading it for us.
I used to have a friend we will call Blah. Blah was a friend of mine for about 8 months. Something strange happened. He started asking for sexual favors. We were just having fun and talking when he said, "Hey, do you have any kinks?" And it was really strange. And I answered truthfully, no. They went on with the conversation and our lives. I didn't think much of it until he started doing it more often. Just asking oddly sexual questions. It was really, really weird. And I went with it and got accustomed to it. But one day he asked me for chest pics. He wouldn't give up even after I said no. What should I do? How do I compromise without having to comply with his request? But also since this post, I have had an update that I want to add on. I think I have been born under a bad star or something. I'm at my wit's end with catching the attention of 15 or more perverts that have DM'd me asking for unreasonable pictures, videos, or words they want me to say. I'm so sick and angry and scared over this unwarranted, unwanted attention and requests. I'm not some anime protagonist on Discord that you can place your desires upon. I'm a real-life person. I need this to stop. And I don't ever want to hear about lemon anything ever again. From Anonymous.
Yeah. So Anonymous.
It just got real around here.
Yeah, I can relate to a degree. I've had run my course with this as well, and every once in a while this happens to me again and again. And it's one of those things in life you have to learn how to shut down, I think, is the most important thing. When it starts to happen, you just have to be able to shut it down. And don't be afraid to do so. You aren't going to lose friends that's the thing. Like, a lot of times our first instinct is we don't want to hurt anybody, so we kind of go along with it. But the more we continue to do that, the more we hurt our relationship with that person, because it just goes into a place where relationships aren't meant to go in these kind of scenarios, in that kind of relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's tough, and I feel for you. It is not a fun place to be, and I'm sure that you are currently enduring it enduring more than I had to at your age, especially. But yeah, I'm just going to give it over to Joe and see what Joe's got to say about it.
Mm. Well, I appreciate you turning it over to me, Ryan. I don't personally have experience with this at all. So I'm going to say a few things and then turn it over to Ryan, because I am really interested to hear what someone who has been through this and understands, I mean, to say, you just got to learn how to shut it down. He will actually have insight on how to shut it down. I was, when I was growing up, I was not put in that position ever. And that, hey, I don't know. I was kind of a dorky little kid, and I got bullied a lot, So
Me too.
Hey, well, good. And this isn't something that I've dealt with, but I do want to say, Anonymous, that you are so much more than a thing. You are a person. And I think you know that, by just by reading your post. You say, I'm not some anime protagonist on Discord that you place your desires on. I'm a real life person. I need this to stop. And yep, you're absolutely right. It does need to stop. And some of it's going to require some courage on your part, I'm sure. And just understand that you are valuable. You are more in life than just a thing for people to desire. One thing I have dealt with, I will say this, I have been used a lot in my life by people close to me and otherwise as well, like, and starting way back, I can remember the first time this happened when I was in middle school. I was used for a bit of my naivete. Is that how you pronounce that?
Naivety?
Yeah, I was naive, kind of.
Yes, we'll go with that.
And people would play me, and I was a little bit gullible, and so I would do things, and it wasn't of this nature. It wasn't a sexual nature. It was just, helping in, with schoolwork, getting people things they wanted, like all these kind of different things. I was a thing for them to get something that they wanted. And it has progressed into, throughout my life, into adulthood. It just tends to find its way in. Now, even though it's not of a sexual nature, it is still treating a person as an object. And that is truly a tragedy, because a person is so much more than that. A person is, has infinite dignity just from the fact that they're a person. And understand, Anonymous, that, we love you. We don't know who you are. But just the fact that you exist, you post, and ask us a question. It's like, we understand that, you're going through some hard stuff. And I hope that some of the words we've said, can help, and some of the words that we're going to say throughout this topic can help you. But really, the baseline of all of this is that you are a person. I'm Catholic, so I will say you're a person made in the image of God. You're of infinite dignity and infinite value. There's never been any person like you before that has ever existed. There will never be anybody like you again in the history of the universe. You're unique and deserving of love and dignity. And with that baseline, I hope that can give you a little bit of some boosting inside. And then you can take the concrete steps that Ryan will hopefully be able to lay out for you. to make this stop. So understand, Anonymous, we love you, and we're so glad you're here. And I hope that we can help you in this situation. And I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. So, Ryan? And now I can't hear you for some reason. It's like you're muted or
Oh,
something.
I muted myself. Yeah. Sorry. I was trying to mute myself because
Oh, there was noise going
anyways.
on. Yeah.
I'm really glad, Anonymous, that you gave us this topic to work with, because this is something that a lot of people go through, and more people seem to be going through it in this current generation than the previous, it feels, and the previous before that. Now, of course, I can't say that for sure, and things used to be worse. I don't like when people say, you know, our time is worse than it's ever been. It's not true. There have been worse times, but I'm really grateful that you brought this subject up, because it's one of those that's really sensitive, and a lot of people are afraid to talk about it, and even mention it. Even as Anonymous, they don't really want to talk about it. And so I just want to say this is great. You know, here's the thing: when you have a friend who is asking you questions that are sexual, or asking you to do things that are sexual, you need to remember this. They will probably still be your friend if you say no. And if they're not, then they were never really much of a friend, right? They were trying to get something out of you, and that's obviously not good. Always remember that your value is not dependent upon how people think of you, right? So if you are worried that if you say no to them, they're going to think less of you, if you shut them down, they're going to feel upset at you, or, you know, you are going to hinder your relationship with them, that mindset is automatically kind of broken, because then you're relying on them and your relationship with them to determine your own value, or your own esteem, or how you look, or how you feel, and most importantly, how you feel. Don't let how you feel be determined by your relationships and how people think of you. Okay? Because people will change how they think of you regardless of anything you do. They will misunderstand you sometimes, and then your relationship will fall apart, and it's not your fault, right? There's all sorts of different things that can happen. And so just remember that you're an amazing person. Just as Joe was saying, you're your own person. And so don't worry about what other people think so much. It is important sometimes to worry about what other people think, but more so if it's about how you feel about yourself. If you ever get the notion that that's why you might be saying, you know, you might be withholding from telling someone no, or going along with something, if the reason might be because you're afraid of a relationship breaking apart, then you need to remind yourself that you're more valuable than how they think of you, right? And their thoughts of you don't make you who you are. So, that out of the way, I'm just going to say this. When someone comes to you with these type of things, you need to tell them this. Basically, you put your disclaimer first, like always, right? And as we always tend to do on this channel, you put your disclaimer first, like, hey, you're my friend, and I by no means intend to hurt you. And I know that we're going to be friends, even if I tell you no. And so with that, I'm going to tell you no. You need to stop doing that, because it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go where you want this to go. This relationship is not going that direction. But we are friends, and so I respect you, but we're not going to go over there, you know? That's where I draw my line. And just like that, if you can say that to them, two things will happen. Three things could happen. Three, they keep on still bugging you and they don't get the message, and then you need to tell them even more sternly next time. And if they keep on doing it again and again and again, at some point you just tell them, look, clearly you get the wrong idea about what this relationship is, and so I'm going to have to shut it down, and we are not friends. And you might have to do that, because it's important to remember this. When you go through life, you have to decide who you're going to be living and hanging out with, because you're going to become more and more like those people. You hang around successful people, you're going to find yourself being more successful. It's true. You look at the top most successful people in the world, they hang around successful people, not just because, oh, I'm successful, so I meet successful people and now we're friends. No, usually they all end up getting successful around the same time together. They all have the same sort of thinking that drives them. Or, you'll become friend with a successful person and you'll start to learn from them and you'll become more successful in life. Or same thing with like anything. You pick up your friend's humor. You pick up the way they laugh sometimes. You start laughing like they do. You pick up the way that they speak and their mannerisms and all sorts of different things. Their bad habits and their good habits. So you need to be careful not to continue friendship and hang around people who don't love you. That's really the bottom line. They don't love you, right? Because remember, what is love? Love is to desire the very best for someone. That's what love is. Love is to desire the best for someone, so much so that you're willing to do something to make that best happen, right? To desire the best and willing to take action on that. That's love. When a parent truly loves their child, they want the best for their child. And sometimes they act on it. Sometimes it's spanking, yes, but sometimes it's ushering them with encouragement, ushering them forward with encouragement, or showing them how to do something they've never done before, etc. Right? And that happens, yes. What is love, love? Baby, don't hurt me. Yes, also that. But also with friendship, right? It's the same thing. If we have good friends, those friends bring out the best version of ourselves, right? Those are the best friends in life. The best teachers are the teachers who bring out the best in their students, right? And that's love, right? And so if you look at your friends and you say, do my friends love me? When they ask me this question, is it to bring out the best in me? The answer is going to be no. So it's not like, okay, then they're not really friends. That's not it. It's that they don't know better. And they need someone to tell them and teach them, because otherwise they're just going to keep on going down that wrong road. So you need to be the good friend that helps get them on the right track. So when you tell them no, if they continue or if they don't get the message, then that means even more so like, hey, they really don't get it. And so you might need to take time and just be like, hey, I get it. It's really hard to have these conversations because it takes a lot of courage and you're worried about what they might think of you, but try not to. Come at it from the angle of, hey, I love you as a friend. And you can tell them up front, like, hey, I love you as a friend. And what I mean by that is I want the best for you. And what you're doing with your life, asking me these questions and worrying about these things, that's not what's best for you. There's so much more in life that you should be worrying about than sex. Like, that is not all that life is. There's so much more to life. And in our current culture, we identify people by their sex life, which is terrible, and terrifying, I guess, too.
Terrible.
Terrible and terrifying. It's not good. And it's very unfortunate, but when we meet people who are really into that, we need to take time and help them, because if we don't, they're going to continue going down that track for a very long time until everything falls apart for them. And trust me, it will. I've seen it happen. I've met many people in walks of life who are just addicted to sex. And I remember I was working at Taco Bell, and 90 to 93%, I'm going to go with that, of the conversations we would have when the customers weren't listening was about sex. I wouldn't have those conversations, but that was all the staff would talk about all the time. They were making tacos, they were talking about sex. They were, cleaning the dishes, they were talking about, they're like, hey, did you see that girl at the window? Like, guys, what's wrong with you? Like, geez. And that's what their whole world was. Their whole world was that. And, you know, people who would go out to bars after work and they would go to pick up, you know, one night stands, etc. Not good. Their whole life was surrounded by that. And they would try to get me in on it. And they're like, you know, hey, you know, don't, they would try to make it fun and be like, you know, you need to get laid and all that kind of stuff, right? Terrible. But what was amazing was when I got to talk to each of them one-on-one. At some point through that career, every once in a while, I got to talk to one of them by themselves. And it's amazing the 180 degree that they took when they were like, hey, Ryan, you know, I'm jealous. I'm really proud of you. And I'm jealous that like you're a virgin and you haven't gone down that road, because I wish I wouldn't have ever started. I wish I wasn't addicted. I wish, you know, I hadn't made those mistakes that I made back then, you know. And I love, like, some of them are like, I have children now and they don't have their father. And I wish that father was with them. But it's because I had these bad habits and the father had bad habits too. And I wish we wouldn't have gotten involved like that. I love my kids and I'm glad we did have the kids, but I wish, you know, I wish it went differently. And it could have, you know. And I had like every single person, except for one of them because I never actually got to talk to him. Like when I got to talk to them one-on-one, admitted just that things weren't okay because of their sexual addictions. Mm-hmm. So if you have any chance of steering someone away from that, this is your chance. And maybe that's, you know, if you want to believe in God, why God is having these people come to you, because now it's your ability, because you're not into any of that. So that makes you able and capable of starting to change their mind before it gets too bad, too out of control for them, right? Or if it already is, you can be someone who ushers them back into reality. But yeah, anyways, as I was saying before, 3 things can happen. 1, they'll continue to do it. 2, they'll just be like, okay, we're not friends anymore. And then there you have it. Or 3, they'll listen and they'll be like, okay, I'm sorry. I won't ask, you know, I won't bring it up again. And all of those are okay. All of those are okay. So if you can just let them know, like, hey, I love you as a friend. Like, I want the best for you. And this isn't the right road for you. You shouldn't be asking girls or guys or whoever, anybody, these questions. You shouldn't be asking them for chest pictures or whatever. It's not good for you. And if you say that to them, they're probably never going to ask you again, because they get the picture. Anyways, I talked for quite a while, and I'm very sorry about that. I'm going to give it over to Joe again and see if he's got anything he wants to add.
Dude, there's a reason that you talk that long. It's because you have the experience here, so that's good. I'm glad. But we do have an updated comment here from Anonymous
Yes.
that came from Princess. Shutting people away takes a toll on my mind. It kind of hurts, unfortunately. And so I can definitely understand that. Saying no is hard sometimes.
It is hard.
It can be very, very hard to, you know, especially depending on what type of station we feel we're in, or what type of phase we feel we're in, or season, I guess, you know, in our life. We kind of go through ups and downs where we feel like really confident. And then we go through times where we feel really not confident. What's the opposite of confident? Fearful? Whatever. The opposite of confident.
Yeah. Meek? No, that's not the word.
Yeah, but so saying no, especially in those low times when we're not feeling confident, saying no and facing a possible rejection or just a lack of acceptance from somebody can really be a challenge. And I definitely understand. At the same time,
Confident. Thanks, Raka. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It just made me laugh.
That's great. You're either confident or confident. Yeah, but here's the thing. If you can remember this, maybe it'll help you get through. that saying no is kind of like a muscle. It's kind of like exercising it, because the more you train yourself to do it, the easier it becomes, the better you get at it, and your confidence level goes up too. It's crazy. Like, if we become a yes person, I've noticed this in my life. The more I become a yes person and just say yeah, 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 yeah to everyone, I notice my confidence kind of starts to wane. I become a confidant, right? Where I start to kind of just slip into this fearful, like, oh man, I hope everybody's accepting me, blah, 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 blah. But as soon as I start saying no, even to just little dumb things, I feel my a little bit more powerful, a little bit more sure of myself, because I'm willing to say no. It was always in sales training. I've done a fair amount of sales training in various professions that I've been in. And, they've always said, hey, the person who's willing to walk away from the deal is the person who's in charge. Right? So if you're willing to shut it down, you're in control. If you're trying to keep it going, if you're trying to make sure you get what you want out of it, you're not in control. The person in control is the person who's willing to say no and to walk away, because they know, especially in this type of situation where you know that the right thing to do is to say no, where it makes you feel uncomfortable. It's degrading. It's, you've become an object. And for you to say yes, like Ryan was talking about, it will just harm the other person, the person who's propositioning you for all these kinds of things. Like, for you to go along with that train of thinking with this person would be to cause harm for them, because it would continue and deepen their addiction. Because truly, I mean, anything that is good, anything that can feel good, can be addictive. And in our culture, we are, trained into this addiction. I saw it. I remember seeing it on some show. I can't remember what show it was. But they were talking about, this girl was going to, she's going out to the bar to go have a one-night stand or whatever, and she took a friend with her or whatever, and mentioned the words, "So I came here to fulfill my bodily needs." And it's like that right there. Anytime we feel that it's a need that deep, then red lights ought to be going off and thinking, oh my gosh, I might be dealing with an addiction here. Because really, what do we need? We need air, we need water, we need food sometimes. A place to stay, a roof over our heads. These are things that are basic needs. But like a lot of these other things, we build needs into our lives. We build addictions into our lives, and we feel like we need these things. I used to be a smoker, and that was a powerful addiction, really difficult to quit. And I knew it was false, because I could remember there was a time before I had been a smoker. And I had never needed a cigarette before. But then when I was in the middle of it, I really needed them. Like, man, and I had created, in this sense, it was not just a mental addiction, but a chemical addiction in my body, right? And so there were two forces going with me here. This type of addiction is also very powerful, because it works on our pleasure receptors, but also because it's so culturally acceptable. Like Ryan was talking about when he worked at, where was that, at Taco Bell?
Mm-hmm.
Where all those conversations were going on. And,
Yeah.
like everybody was just talking about it. It was the social norm.
Mm-hmm.
So to go along with this is to feel normal. And in your case, to understand, no, this isn't right. No, it makes me feel gross, whatever. Your feeling is correct, but it goes against what's normal. And so we can feel like it's not correct. And so it can be a little bit of a struggle. But I tell you, if you can just one time say no, and you already have, it sounds like, which is good. The more you do it, the easier it will become, the more powerful you will feel, the more confidence you will grow in as a result. And I just want to encourage you. You know what is right. You are on the right track. And you are strong because you're already saying no. And that takes a lot of strength. And the more you do it, I just want to encourage you, the more you do it, the better you'll be at it and the easier it'll become. And that's pretty much what I have. So, Ryan, anything else?
Yeah, no, thank you, Joe. That's fantastic. And I guess just to be the balancer, you know, there's balance in everything. There's you know, just as Joe was saying, anything that can feel good can be an addiction. Even just compliments, I know people complimenting you, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, or giving compliments, right? Giving compliments can make you feel good, and that could become an addiction. Here's the thing: we need balance in everything, right? If something feels good, that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's good. We should be able to feel good from time to time. There's such thing as good entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's also things that geez, I lost my train of mind, but you get the idea. We need
I just
to
got
be
good
able...
entertainment, and I was like Static P.
Yeah. Oh no, he's terrible. That guy. I don't even know how it. Jeez.
That's where my brain went. I don't know where your brain was going, but that's where mine went. So anyway.
Okay, thank you. There and the other thing is, you know, Joe was talking about, or I guess we were talking about, saying no, right? You build I guess self-esteem and lots of different things by saying no. But you don't want to be a completely no person. If you go that too far down that road, you become too self-centered, too selfish, and unable to work with other people, and it's not good, right? So you don't want to be like a yes to everybody, and you don't want to be no to everybody, right? You want to find the balance. A lot of times I think that balance is pretty much fine-tuned to what's best. Usually that balance is fine-tuned to what is morally correct, or what helps people the most. Sometimes you have to say no, and it might even be for something good, but you have to say no because you've already promised someone else something, or you've decided you're going to say no to something that's good so that you can do something even better, something even greater, right? Or sometimes you might have to say no to something good just because you're like, I've had too much of it. I need to put that aside and start doing something else for a while. Give my brain a rest, right? So sometimes you just have to say no. Sometimes you have to say yes. And I think it's important to not go too far in either direction. And so the same thing with pleasures. You know, there comes a time in your life, we aren't here to say that sex is evil. You know, there are people out there who might say that. There aren't very many, but there are people out there. Sex is not evil. Sex is what brings about life, and it brought about your existence. It's a very beautiful thing, but that should be kept in context, right? Sex brings about life. That's a beautiful thing. That's an incredible thing. That's something worth considering, and something worth maybe something worth thinking about when you are considering it. Rather, that sex is a very big deal, and we make it a big deal, but in a wrong way. We actually make it too light of a deal, I think. You know, in our current culture, where you can just do without consequence, so we just do, because there's all sorts of contraceptives and etc. And I think that it's more important to think of sex on the individual basis, thinking about the person and thinking about what's best for them and best for you, right? That's more important. That's why you either have sex or you shouldn't have sex. That's really and so the balancing factor there is you look at that individual as a human being, and you say, is it in our best interest and favor for our future if we have sex right here, right now? And a lot of times that answer is going to be no. Pretty much until you're married, that answer should be no. But that said, I think we've pretty much covered the topic pretty well. I don't think I have anything else. Joe, did you? If
I
not,
did not, except I
Awesome.
just I want to encourage you, Anonymous. Stick to what you know is right. And remember real love. Like Ryan has said so many times on this show, you know, that it's desiring the best for the other person. And the best thing for these people, you are acting lovingly to say no and to shut it
Mhm.
down. Because that is what's best for them. To deal with this situation and not go along and not further something that, you know, would be wrong. So, anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Joe. Fantastic. So, with that one out of the way, thank you all for your patience. I'm gonna go ahead and go down the list again. And if you are here, let us know, and we can do your topic. Ian Lam, Helmarock Hero, Pear, Lila McGee, Kishin Slayer, Ezekiel Games, there's another anonymous, Ploen, Dracon, Lord Francium, Yume, Baka, and Saule. Saule? Saule. I don't remember. No.
From what I remember, it's Saula.
Saula? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Saula.
Saula.
I think.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Saula.
Saula gave me a yo, what's up with your mom and dad? Yo, what's up with your mom and dad in the chat?
Yeah. I haven't seen that.
Awesome.
Well, saw it earlier in the chat today, but I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it back.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing back the yo, what's up with your mom and dad in the chat.
Saule. Okay, thank you.
Oh, Saule.
Thank you.
Awesome. I can say that way from now on.
Yep,
Saule.
Saule.
Maybe it's Saule. Maybe it's not Sau, but just Sau. Oh, it is. Well, no, that's Snowlock. Yeah, Saule. Okay, so Saule. Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right.
Well,
Saule.
Yume is here.
Oh, Saule. Saule. Yume is here, and
we'll
so
get it. We will get it right.
One of
One
these
day.
days, we're gonna say it wrong on accident, and it will be right. So
What?
you know what I mean.
I
And
know
if you
what
don't, that's all right. So we've got Yume with us, and that's great. Is everyone ready for this topic?
I think so. Princess,
Princess?
are you ready for this
Okay,
topic?
cool.
Hey.
So this is from Yume. It's titled Musician, and it reads as follows.
As of April 21st, I am 19. As of writing this post, it is now April 22nd. In other words, I am now 19.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday! I spent so long trying to find what I wanted to do with my life since I gave up on music. The reason I gave up was because, as I mentioned in previous posts, I couldn't make anything that I liked anymore. It was just like any talent I had vanished. I tried so desperately just to force making something. Recently, though, a new album was released by my favorite artist, and I watched an interview where he talked about it in depth. It turns out that he had a similar phase where he was doing the same thing before making the album. His experiences helped me realize what I had done wrong. I just needed to stop forcing myself and let it come naturally. I already had a desire to go back to music, but I had buried it in hopes of finding something else that would fulfill me. But after hearing what he said, I can't ignore this desire anymore. I want to make music. Nothing else fulfills me in the same way that it does. And now that I know what I want, now I know what I've been doing wrong this whole time, and that what I feel is normal. Maybe I still have some talent after all. But the issue is, what happens once this wave of inspiration fades? What do I do then? That's why I had once wanted to move to Japan for change and new experiences. I still want to go to Japan, but maybe only for a few months for the experience. The music college I want to attend is far from home, so maybe that too will be enough change to inspire me as well. I might also be able to meet a good friend I have there, but it still scares me because I don't want to lose this passion. Because for once in my life, it finally feels like I'm on the right track, and I don't want to burn out like that again. And Joe, I will have to post a new thing to you because they changed their topic before now.
Oh,
So
okay. Thank
forgive
you
me,
for
that'll
letting me
take
know,
like
because
5 minutes.
I was all teed up and ready to just throw it up
Yeah.
there. Okay, no problem.
I learned that when they changed the name of the title.
Right on.
Ugh.
Oh,
That
good. By the way, Yume, it's totally fine.
Yeah. No,
It
no.
just it happens. Love
Yep,
you.
it's fine.
yeah.
You
Awesome.
keep us
Well,
on on our toes.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good
you
thing.
do.
Hmm.
Thanks, you, man. Thanks for the topic. Yeah, this is a great topic. Obviously, me and Joe can both relate. And this is, we are both musicians, so we have some experience here. Right off the bat, I just want to say thanks for asking and sharing this with us. And I think that it's quite true what you're talking about. There are many times where you end up forcing yourself over and over and over, and it seems like nothing's working. You can't get any inspiration. All the songs that you write just don't sound great. And then when you kind of let go of that, um, when you stop forcing yourself and you kind of just let it come naturally, it sort of does. And it's interesting how that works. And it's like, why does it work that way? That's so contrary to the rest of everything else we do in life. It's like, you want to train to be better at basketball. Why don't you go out there and play basketball? You're going to get better at it, and that's the way things mostly go for talents and for creativity. But there are definitely times when, as a creative person, you burn out, and it's going to happen a lot. It's going to happen a lot throughout your life, and that's okay. It's knowing, not to say it's game over, I guess, just because you burn out every once in a while. I think we all do. But yeah, with that said, I'm gonna get over to Joe and see what wisdom he's got to share with us in the field.
Well, I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you. And Yume, I really appreciate the topic. Like Ryan was saying, this is something that he and I both have experience with, both of us being musicians. And I've been through a lot of phases. I'm a little bit older than 19. I remember being 19, sort of. But one of the things that's interesting, because I've been through the same type of phases where you pursue something, you pursue music, and I don't know what it is, but at least in my life, sometimes it feels like, okay, this isn't gonna work, so I better do something else, right? And so I better figure something else out. And then if I get that all in order, if I work and build a company or do whatever, and then I can then take the time to make music, because I will create some freedom for myself through the income. I'll be able to provide for my family. I'll be able to do whatever, right? So like there's all kinds of steps, and in a way, it's kind of how culture is built too. I mean, we're raised in a system that tells us we need to go to school, get good grades, so we can get a good job, and then we can have a good income, from that job for our career, and then retire, right? And there's nothing wrong with that advice. The only thing is it's not necessarily the only path. It's just, it might be the most direct and straightforward path to a steady income, perhaps. But it's interesting, because I was talking, I attended a webinar. I attended a series of webinars from a musician, a person who had started uploading violin covers of video game music and anime music.
Is it Lindsay?
No, not Lindsey Sterling. It's Taylor Davis.
Okay.
She's from Michigan, actually.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
And she actually has a program called Musician of All Trades. It costs money, but at any rate, her and her husband, I got into reading their blog, and I attended one of her webinars, and a bunch of stuff, and I've seen a series of videos and whatnot, and her husband was he was a computer science guy, I believe, and he always had a fairly steady job. She graduated from college and got done with that, and then she ended up getting not a great job that fit with her degree. It was just kind of like this blah, part-time type of deal. And so what she started doing was she started recording these videos. Now, this was back in 2013 when she started uploading videos to YouTube. And just playing the violin, playing along with a pianist, or playing along whatever, or then started arranging and recording and then producing her own things and shooting them. And the interesting thing was, over time, her fiance, now husband, was quite skeptical and fairly against it, and wished that she would just pursue a different job. And he was like, I've got a job, I'm making the bucks here, whatever. And then over time, the different streams of income that she was able to bring in through treating her craft as a business, right? That's key. To be a musician and to be a professional musician, you have to start treating your craft as a business. And you start to have to think in terms of, okay, where are my revenue streams coming from? How can I, make those better? How can I, do whatever? And you start thinking in terms of that, and start thinking in terms of something that you really pay attention to and focus on. And she was able to then generate income that was passive to the point where she didn't have to work anymore at her job. So then she was full-time, uploading songs. She was full-time recording and doing all this kind of stuff, right? But even still, it was kind of like the feeling was, well, this isn't really real. This is kind of shaky. This is whatever, right? And then her husband loses his job. And that happens to people. Sometimes we go forward in a career. Think about this. It would be a total shame for any of us, and it happens all the time, for us to set aside what we may feel called to do for something just because of money, and then we go pursue it and we hate it because it wasn't something we wanted to do in the first place. We wanted to pursue our calling, right? So we do this job that we hate just because we want the money, and then we lose that job.
Happens a lot.
It happens a lot. And how hard must that be to deal with? In fact, I've dealt with it. And it's hard. Because then you're like, oh, well, I did this for the money, and now the money is not even there anymore. And now what do I do? And so you scramble and you try to make ends meet, and you do all kinds of craziness. But eventually, it's so crazy because as a musician, that's what I always end up circling back to. It always comes back to music. It always comes back. I'll go and I'll work a job and I'll make some money and maybe have some success. We'll pay for all kinds of stuff, kids' private school, kids' taekwondo, kids' stuff, vehicles, whatever. And not my kids' vehicles. They're not old enough to drive yet. I'm not that old.
Kids' vehicles? You're talking about little kid vehicles? Like the ones that are not large enough for an adult to fit into? Maybe their foot?
There was supposed to be kids, ... And then vehicles was a separate subject.
Yeah.
Stuff in life, right? And so, but then I had to come to this realization, and it was fairly recently, just like you may, where it's like, what is it that I'm good at? There's very limited jobs out there that I could get that I'm good at. And you know what I'm good at? I'm good at music. And it's like, okay, now I feel a lot older, but I know it's possible. I know there's a path. I know there's a way that it can be done. And it's just a matter of trying to figure it out. Working, it's going to be hard for a while. Sometimes you might have to work a job in order to make money while you build your career as a musician. In fact, I would say that's probably absolutely going to be the case. You'll probably have to do something and you might not like it. And that can be the best thing ever, because if you don't like what you're doing for money, it can help motivate you to work harder in the thing you love to do, to then create a business around it and to do that for a living. So I'm telling you what, I think it's awesome that you're coming to this realization again. And I know it's not for everybody, but there are lots of examples of success out there. And you don't have to be hugely popular with billions and billions of subscribers and all kinds of stuff. You don't need to be that big. You don't need that big of an audience. I remember this came from a book somewhere. I forget the name of the book. But in this age, in the age of internet entrepreneurs, and this can be for people with a fitness program, this can be for people who are musicians, this can be people for a merchandise line or an app or whatever it is, right? If you're like an independent entrepreneur with regard to the internet, right? Community is important. And really, we think in terms of, oh man, I need to have like millions of views and millions of subscribers. It only takes 1,000 good fans. Because think about it. If you have 1,000 fans that are willing to spend $100 a year on you, then you make $100,000 a year. It's simple.
And
there are places that's set up. There's Patreon. There's, like if you like, there are ways where you can get stuff out there, digital downloads, and the key then is engaging with that fan base and keeping that relationship alive with them, right? And so then but then like that brings it way down. Rather than being like millions of people need to, and I need to have a video that goes viral, and I need to have all these streams on Spotify. It's like, no. What we need to do is figure out, okay, how do we have 1,000 really good fans? How do we build to that point? And once you're there, it seems like everything else just kind of falls into place. But yeah, I don't know. I could go on and on and on. I've been studying this a lot lately, so I don't know. Some of the stuff I'm saying might not quite be relevant to your question, but it's definitely relevant in my mind to what's going on that's similar.
I thought that was great. That was.
But I've been studying a lot of this because I've finally come to the realization where it's like, you know what? I don't think I really have anything else. I don't really have very many other options. I've tried so many different options. And I keep coming back here. And for some reason, this is what I'm good at. So if I don't do this that I'm good at, then I don't know. I don't know what else I would do. I feel like it would just be a torturous life. So anyway, I'm going to stop before I get myself in trouble and turn it over to Ryan. Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, awesome, Joe. I don't think I can top that. I don't really have a whole lot much I can add to that. I think you really covered a lot of really good stuff there. I guess on the topic of what happens when your inspiration fades, what do you do then? The thing is, are you going to let that stop you? That's the question you have to ask. Many times it's funny because it's like music is something I would be doing regardless. That's the way it is, right? If I was if I made no money with it, I'd still do it. If it took me 20 years to make money with it, I'd still be doing it just because I like doing it. And I think that's awesome, right? I think that if you can put work into something and you enjoy it, you should continue to do it. I think that's great. And there are going to be times when your inspiration fades, but that doesn't stop you. In the end, you come back to it. That's just the way life works. Um, there are people I know who, like, they're really great artists and they used to be really good. They're still really good, but then their inspiration's gone and they give it up for a job and then they never come back to it except for like many, many, many years later. And they always have that feeling of like, I regret that decision. I wish I would have pursued it more. I wish I would have taken more time to continue my art. Just like Joe said, okay, here's the thing. Your life matters, right? And what you do in this life matters, right? Now, it's important to remember that your value as a human being isn't decided upon how much you do or what you do, right? We're all equally valuable, period. Regardless of what you do, what your status is, what your title is, who you are the dictator of, we're all equal here, right? But that doesn't mean what you do doesn't matter, right? Because it matters to others, right? When you do something good for another person, it matters to them, right? And one of the things that, I am talented in writing music, and I use that to add value to other people's lives. I use that as a tool to reach out to people and help them, or to inspire them, or to just even entertain them, right? And that's a beautiful thing, right? So I think the next step, like Joe was saying, is then you take that ability and you turn it into an income, right? Now, it might take you a while before the income is worth anything. I didn't retire from my job to become a musician. The last job I worked is the same job that Joe's working right now. And
it's a motivator.
I worked at, yeah, that is a job for you. It's funny, Joe, you're going to get this point, but when you get closer and closer to that date where you go, okay, I quit, I'm actually quitting. The closer and closer you get, man, that feeling just gets worse and worse. Especially if it's dead in the middle of winter and you've been walking through like 2 feet of snow for the last week. That feeling of like, this day needs to be over right now. And then the next day, and then the next day, and the next 2 weeks. Just get over. I'm done with this. Sick of it. But anyways, I had worked many jobs for 9 years before I was able to quit doing them and pick up music full time. And I don't even do music full time, to be honest. If I did music full time, you guys would know. I do all sorts of different stuff with my time, but here's the thing. It took me 9 years. That's shorter than a lot of people, but that's a lot longer than people who go through college. So a lot of people go through college and they're like, yeah, I took 4 years. Some people, to get a degree in medicine, some people, they go through like 8 years. They go through 2 4-year sets,
or longer.
Or longer, right? And that's like the minimum. I mean, yeah, usually 8 years is like the minimum. And then they keep on going. Some of them, some continue to go even after they're already, a doctor and so on. So each field has its own time that you have to invest in it. But when you have something you're like, well, this is what I'm going to do, regardless of how much time I have to invest, then you just do it, And I think that's how you have to look at it. It's like that question of like, quit to what? What else am I going to do with my time? That could be helpful. It's like, quit to what? Like, doesn't make any sense. So you just keep on going. And I think that that's the thing. Whenever you feel like you have no inspiration anymore, remember it's just a season. We all have our seasons, you know? We are human and we're animals at that. We aren't always going to have 100% inspiration 100% of the time. In fact, we'll be lucky if if we feel inspired even 20% of the time. That's just the way our brain works. And that's okay. Ride the inspiration when it comes, and when it's not there, continue to work at what you can. You don't give up. Don't give up on yourself, you know? Just don't be like, I guess my time is through and I'll never be good again. No, continue to practice. Continue practice writing even if you don't like what you're writing, because you'll learn a bunch in that time. I'll tell you, like when I feel like I'm uninspired, if I continue to write, I still get a bunch of knowledge that I can use in my next piece when I am inspired. Right? So just keep on doing it. And just tell yourself, like, I'm going to be doing this anyways. Eventually I'll be inspired again. And so then on that day, I'll come up with something great. But for now, I'm going to keep on practicing. And the only way you practice writing is by writing. And you might not like what you make, you know, but practice is still good. There are people who practice an instrument. Some people practice piano, and probably 99% of the time that they're practicing a piano, they don't enjoy it. But that 1% makes it worth it to them. And maybe that's a bit of a stretch. Maybe it's more like 90%, maybe 80% of the time that they're at the piano, and they're just playing this repetitious song over and over and over and over. Like they've played Beethoven's 7th Symphony 483 times in a row for their concert, and they're sick of it. Just like you will get sick of writing sometimes. But the practice is still good. And eventually, when they get to their concert and they actually get to play the song that they memorized because they played it so many times, they're going to have a great time. And they're going to love the result of being done with it. You know, sometimes it's the pieces that are the most annoying that when we finish, we feel the most reward from. Because we're like, yes, I'm done with it. And then a bunch of other people are like, oh my gosh, I love this song. And you're like, I hated that song, but this is great. Joe knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And by the way, if you ever feel like, man, this is a song and it's completed, but I hate it, good. Then you're right up there with all the greatest musicians.
Yep. Release it.
Release it. You know, I didn't dislike It's Not Like I Like You, but it's like one of my least favorites.
Yeah.
It's the most views.
I was in the same boat. I remember hearing it for the first time. Ryan was like, he put it out there and he's like, hey, here's a new song. It was like,
yeah, you're like, Detective was better. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then, you know, and there are some other ones like Bad News. Bad News, I was so sick of writing. By the time I was done, I was like, done. Oh, you just mentioned Bad News. That was of all the songs that I disliked, by the end of me writing it, and I was like, man, I'm sick of this song. Bad News was the biggest one on all of them. And that's funny because that happens to be the one that you like the most. So if you're writing a song and you get to a point where you're just sick of it, good. It's going to probably be a good song. There's going to be a lot of people who like it. So don't ever worry about if you like feel like it's the most, like the best song you ever wrote, or one of the best, or really good, you know, if you get to a point where you're just like, man, this is annoying, then you're in the right spot. Sometimes that's just where it ends up, and you release it and a lot of people really like it. So that's what I got, and I hope that's inspiring to even those who are not doing musician stuff, or even being creative. You know, maybe your career is in something like the medical field or whatever. And I hope that this is, you know, information that's helpful to you as well, and inspiring to you, because this doesn't apply, you know, all the things that Joe said. It doesn't apply to just being a musician. It doesn't apply to just creative, artsy people. It applies to engineers too. It applies to mathematicians too. You know, and that's beautiful. It's so awesome. We all have different talents in this world, and what we get to add through, interacting with each other and making those talents into something new and beautiful and helpful for the world. I think it's awesome. So don't ever discount yourself. Don't ever think that your talent's not creative or cool. Math. People consider math like not artsy whatsoever. Math isn't art. Math is a beautiful art. And so is science. There's an art to science. There's an art to programming.
Mm-hmm.
To me, all of these things are similar to writing music. Music is an art, but it's also a science.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a big giant math problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't ever feel like, okay, I'm not artsy, so this logic doesn't apply to me. It does. But anyways, Joe, back to you. If you got anything else you want to add to that.
Yeah. First of all, respect all you percussionists in the chat.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm a percussionist. I play the piano.
That's true. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Baca plays Dancing Queen on the trumpet. Man,
nice.
the ABBA song Dancing Queen on trumpet. And then Vanna says, imagine being a trumpet. I'm like,
well, then you would have just got played.
Yes. No, Yume, I do have to say, getting to your, like, Ryan, it was so nice of you to bring it back to, okay, what's the actual question here, which is, how do I get through, and when I feel unmotivated or whatever, how do I, push through those moments? And really, I can liken this to the part of music that I really had the most trouble with, and that was lyrics. Writing lyrics. Now, I've been told I can write decent lyrics, but it takes me a long time, and it's really hard, and it's like a painful experience, and, I never liked coming up with lyrics for songs. Ever. It was always such a chore. And I came across this book written by a professor at Berklee College of Music, and he wrote, his class that he taught was about lyric writing. And this was actually the textbook that he used in his class, and he wrote the book. He wrote the book on lyrics, right? And he had this exercise early in the book that I just started doing. And I haven't gone any further in the book yet.
Ha! Nice. That's all you needed. First page.
This one, I think it was chapter 2, actually, where there's this exercise that it's every day you set a timer for 10 minutes. He says, and it'd be best if you did it at the beginning of your day when your brain is still kind of waking up. You're kind of in that in between awake and sleep kind of, mentality where things are kind of whatever. And he says, set a timer for 10 minutes and then just start writing sense-related words. So sight, smell, taste, touch, just start writing. He'll pick an object word, like say towel. And then you just let your pen go. You start with the word towel. And you just write wherever your mind goes, and you try and keep it in the realm of sense. Right? Now, this story has a point. Just hang with me. But so I started doing this, and, like my mind would go all kinds of places, like towel. The ice on the roof is crazy hard and cold and, drips on me. And then I drive my car on it and I can feel whatever, and so like just random, just thoughts. Wherever my mind goes, I just write it down. Interestingly enough, I've been doing that now for a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
I've got a stack of notebooks.
Nice.
Just from random blobbery of words, right? And the interesting thing is it's working. Now, when I sit down to write lyrics, they come much faster. We even have a tool called Master Writer that we use, and it's very helpful in coming up with synonyms and rhyming words and all kinds of stuff. So like if you kind of get yourself stuck, it can help you kind of and figure out what's going on. And so that's been a pretty cool program to use. But but I don't even usually need it too much unless I get myself stuck. But most of the time, the words just kind of come out and they just flow. So, but here's the thing. When you're not inspired, because first thing in the morning, I'm not inspired to pick up a pen and write something. But since I have a timer set for 10 minutes, I know it's going to be over in 10 minutes. And and then it's going to be great. And I'll do that with other tasks as well. I'll do that with if I'm not necessarily feeling like playing my guitar, which these days, now that I've upgraded my guitar, I've got new pickups in it, I've got all kinds of stuff and done some upgrades. Now I really want to play it all the time. Plus I got my new amp that I showed off last week, like that. These things helped me be motivated, but you can't always be buying something new, to motivate you to do something. So one of the best things you could do is set a timer. I did this for, I think, 2 months. There was a couple years ago, I was like, all right, I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to play my guitar for 30 minutes every day. Just 30 minutes. I got 30 minutes. You got 30 minutes. Everybody's got 30 minutes somewhere in their day, Ain't
nobody got time for that. That's right. Everybody got time for that.
Everybody got 30 minutes, right? So yeah, but that's it. And I did that 30 minutes. And sometimes I would just play stupid nothingness. A lot of times I would just play songs that I knew before that I'd written years ago, and I'd just pick them up and, oh yeah, I remember that song. It was a good song, I'd play it and whatever. But doing that exercise for 2 months, I wrote like 6 songs. And I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. I wasn't even trying to be productive. I wasn't even trying to write these songs. They just came about. And it was weird because momentum started to build, and then I stopped doing it, and then obviously I stopped writing new songs because I stopped doing that exercise. But so here's the key. Anytime you start to lose your motivation, you can look at the things. All right, do I really want to do this? I do want to do this. This is what I'm good at. You can re-logic yourself into it. That's what I have to do that all the time. I have to re-logic myself. What else do I have? What else do I have? What else am I good at? What I have spent years of my life practicing. Years. When you add up all the time I've spent practicing, it's crazy. And it's like, okay, I would be so foolish to not use that in some way and to not pursue some kind of profit with it. Right? And so you can logic yourself back in by talking to yourself like that. That's how I have to talk to myself, right? So then if it's a task that I really don't feel like doing, I'll set a timer. I'll be like, yep, I don't want to do this, but I got this stack of yellow picks right here. I'm going to go play my guitar. I'm going to set my timer for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to throw the pick on the floor.
There it will remain.
And there it will remain until tomorrow. Or until I pick it up because I don't want to look at it on the floor. But anyway, to do that, now it's a doable task because I know there's an end time to it. And if it stinks, it's going to be over soon. And if it's great, it's going to be over soon. I better make good use of this time. But I do tend to stop myself. Mainly because, and here's why. Because if I'm having a great time and I allow myself to continue on, now you can, and it's not a big deal, and it actually probably be good for you. But I tend to stop myself when the timer goes off because the more I train myself to work in those increments, the more my mind starts thinking, oh, I better get into the zone faster because I've got a limited amount of time here. And so it's kind of training to get in the creative zone faster. And so that's why I'll stop. Even if I'm having a really great time and a great session, when the timer goes off, I stop. And so that's probably my best advice on getting through those moments of not being motivated or losing your passion or whatever. You can logic yourself back in, and then when you have a task in that you're not that you really don't want to do, set a timer. And then stop when the timer's done. So that's what I got. So Ryan, back to you.
Yeah, that's some solid advice. Thanks, Joe. It's something that you can practice, and it really just continues your practicing. And I think that's a great idea. You know, I follow different variations of that myself, and I think that's really helpful. One last thing I'm going to say before I close this one down is this. It's something I used to say a lot, but I haven't said it in a while, and you'll remember it probably if you've been here for a while. If you wait for motivation to start working on something, you're putting the cart before the horse. Remember that motivation is an emotional response to something, right? Motivation isn't something you have before something happens in the world. Usually motivation comes when you witness something in the world and it inspires you, right? Motivation comes when you come up with an idea and you're like, oh, I got to try that, right? Motivation is an emotional response. So it always comes after, right? So if you're waiting for something to happen in life, who knows how long you'd be sitting there? You're waiting for an emotional response. And so how about this instead? How about you take the horse and you put it in front of the cart, right? You start acting on things that will cause motivation. See, sometimes you just have to start working on something and suddenly your brain starts moving forward and all of a sudden you've got the ball rolling and you feel a little bit motivated and you're like, wait, oh, and you have that emotional response that you triggered by working. That's getting things in the right order. So if you ever feel like, man, I just don't feel motivated, remember that motivation isn't the requirement to start working. And it shouldn't be the thing which you rely on to start working, because then you end up only never working. You only work in a response to something, it's not good. So make sure, just as Joe was saying, you can logic yourself into it. So this is some logic you can play on yourself. And just remember that motivation is an emotional response. Emotions are fickle. They're fleeting. They last only for a moment. That's not something we can rely on. It isn't. And sometimes we just have to bite the bullet and say, I don't feel motivated, but let's go. Let's see if I get motivated by working. Because it's a response. Not something that happens first. Just a response. So we shouldn't start with it. That's what I'm saying. And with that,
just don't literally bite any bullets. That's really not good.
Yeah, that would break your teeth or hurt them.
And they're made of lead, which is not something you want in your mouth.
Yeah, and bullets are people too, so that's really mean.
Bullets are people too.
I don't bite people, guys. Yeah, so right now we're at an hour and almost 30 minutes. We started 45 minutes late, and I'm not sure.
I'm good to keep going.
Huh?
I'm good to keep going. If
You're good to keep going. What about you, Princess? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Chat, are you guys good to keep going? I want to hear a response from each of you. All you lurkers out there, you got to tell me if I need to shut this down.
And if he needs to shut it down, he needs to tell me, because I've got my finger on the button.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Or I can make it look really wonky.
Well, we can talk about what. Oh my god.
sorry. I'm back, guys.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, then let's continue with the show. I mean, do you want me to run through the list again, or do you have something you wanted to talk about, Joe? You were saying?
No, we got people. We got people with
stuff.
Yeah,
I know that Baka's here. I don't need to rerun through the list. I guess I will, just in case someone showed up and they're lurking. We got Ian Lam, Hamarak Hero, Helmarock Hero. Helmarock Hero, are you lurking again? If you are lurking again and you appear in the chat after we close this, I'm gonna. Helmarock, we have one for you. Stop lurking. Okay. It's from March 10th, like last year. Okay. Okay. Ian Lam, Helmarock Hero, Pear, Little McGee, Kenshin Slayer, Ezekiel Games, an anonymous person, Plowin, Dracon, Lord Francium, Yume, Baka. Actually, we just did Yume. So Baka and Saule. It looks like we've got
Baka.
We've got Raka, Snowlock Holmes, Vanna V, Meowlido, Box of Life, and Joe Anderson.
Huh?
These are all the people that didn't already
Oh.
got.
Oh, you're looking to see who's here. Is Helmarock Hero here?
Okay. So on this list, the person that comes first in this would be Baka.
Yes, and Snowlock, if you have a topic, we probably won't get to it tonight. So, but if you want to post it, or you can post
Please
it in
do.
chat, you can post it on our website, you can send it on Discord, you can do all that, and we'll be happy to get it.
That's right.
Next time. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do Baka. Baka Breaker, you are up next. And yeah, just like Joe said, Snowlock, if you have anything, put it in the forums or type it here in the chat. Or if you want to be anonymous, send us an email. dww@bss.studio.
Oh, Princess, what is that? The less than 4.
Oh,
That is a less than 3, but with dysmetria, where you press 4 instead of 3.
I figured it was the less than 3, so a heart, but it was 4, so it was like, I love you 5 ever.
Yeah, I love you.
I love you forever.
Less than 3, less than 4. Less than 4 you is even bigger.
It is.
I love you 5
My
ever.
love for you is not less than 4.
It's not less than 4. It's greater than.
I eat the 4.
Awesome. Well,
anyway.
Yeah.
So this one is from Baka. It's titled "A Lie to Hide the Demons," and if you want to read along, I believe that Princess already posted the link. I'll do so in case the link that she posted was for something else. Anyways, feel free to read along, and Princess will read for us.
Princess's link was legit. Just so everybody knows.
It is. It's always good to have the verification link. And all of those of you who haven't clicked it yet, click Ryan's. It's wonderful. Anyway.
I haven't checked Ryan's. I don't know if Ryan's is legit.
You better not click mine.
You better click his. Anyway, I feel weird writing this, but I want to ask something. As I have previously stated that I have poor control over my anger, and I frequently get migraines and all. I have seen that over a year, and I have seen that even in my darkest moments, I hide behind a lie. Although I'm not okay, I want a way to release my feelings, yet I hide them behind a lie. Should I hide my feelings behind a lie? From Baka. And don't delete your messages.
Yeah, Baka, don't delete your messages. So,
wait, what? I'm so confused.
She was talking to me.
Yeah, that's okay. Then I looked at the chat and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
shame on you, Ryan.
So yeah, Baka, I guess a question I'd have to ask is, what is the lie? Is the lie like if people ask like, how are you doing? You're like, I'm fine. I'm okay. Is it like that? Sometimes we, there are multiple ways of perceiving something, and we can think of something as a lie when it's not necessarily a lie or whatever. But I'm just curious what it is that you're lying about. I'm guessing it's that, but I'm not positive. Just some clarification would be nice. But yeah, anger is something that, we've talked about before, Baka, and so far you've been awesome. I haven't never seen you angry. But you're here on Don't Worry Wednesday where you don't worry. So it's, pretty easy not to be angry about anything. But no, Baka Breaker, you're an awesome person. And we love all of the different topics that you've given us. And I'm really proud of you for always looking to move forward, always looking for that next step to keep on moving forward with your life and growing yourself and becoming a better individual. And I just want to say, I think that's really, really important. And I'm impressed by you, and I think that a lot of people should be emulating you and what you're doing to better yourself. Um, yeah, okay, yeah, just saying I'm fine or I'm good. Okay, when you're in pain or distressed. Okay, yeah, and one of the things that I immediately think of, I'm gonna give over to Joe in a second, but um, have you ever like gotten hurt, and someone comes up to you and they're like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" So we've all been through there. We've probably all been on one of those sides or another. And it's interesting to me how some people, I have a friend who, if you ever ask that to, it's like, oh my gosh, like they stubbed their toe. They're going to live. It's going to be fine. Right. They stubbed their toe and you're like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And their response is always, no. Like, no, I'm in pain. It hurts, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the first time I ever heard that, I was like taken aback and I was like, you can say no to that? Like, what's wrong with you? You always say yes to that. Always. No matter what. It doesn't even matter. Are you okay? Yes, I'm not dead. Is how you should always respond to that. That was my upbringing. And so when someone asks me, like, are you okay? My answer is always going to be, yeah, I'm okay. Like, yeah, that hurt, but I'm okay. Right? Period. That's just my attitude towards it. And so it makes me think of this scenario. Someone asks how you are, and you might be like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm not, and it might be the same kind of way of like, yeah, I just stubbed my toe and it hurts, but yeah, I'm okay. Life's gonna be fine. But it could also be, the other way around. It's like, yeah, I'm not okay because I've got all these things going on in my life and it's making me angry. you know. Anyways, I just kind of think of that, and I just remember being really surprised that someone has a different response to these things. And it might not necessarily be lying to say, after you stub your toe and being like, yeah, I'm okay. It's not lying to say that, but it's also not lying to say, yeah, I'm not okay. Because really, neither of them matter. Neither of them are true. Both of them are true all at the same time. It's like, because the answer in my situation is like, yeah, I'm okay because I'm alive and I know I'm going to be okay in the future. So I'm going to get over it. It'll be fine. And so that's why I say I'm okay, right? Don't call the ambulance. Like if I say, no, I'm not okay, to me, that means call the ambulance. And that like almost
Whoa.
never happens. Actually, probably more likely, like I hurt myself bad enough. I'll be someone will be like, oh my gosh, are you okay? I'll be like, yeah, I'm okay. Just call the ambulance. And then die. So, yeah, anyways, with that funny story out of the way, I'm going to go over to Joe and see what he's got to say about all this.
No, I'm with you, Ryan. I think Baca. First of all, thank you for the topic. Thank you for and thank you for all your topics. You've had a good amount of great topics.
And
to share with us, and it's.
And we've said before, your topics go on to help more than just yourself. They help all the people in the chat. So
absolutely,
and they help us too up here.
Yep, Baca has an update here. So I guess it feels more of that I'm pushing people away when they want to help. So, and that's an interesting way of looking at it because, yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to help, it helps them to allow them to help us, right? However, this is interesting because I know in my life, I don't know how it is in your guys' lives, but in my life, when somebody says, hey, how's it going? Or how you doing? They don't really mean how you doing. They mean hi.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
And good to say, oh, I'm doing great, or whatever. That's to say hi back, right? So it's a greeting. So in that sense, if somebody were to ask, hey, how's it going? and I like go into this diatribe of how everything has been really crappy and, you know, like whatever, you know, that's not what they were really asking. So what you have to do is you have to discern, okay, is this person genuinely asking about the quality of my life right now and how things are actually going? Are they attempting to help me in some way, right? And if you discern yes, then it might be okay to divulge some information. Here's the thing, withholding information is not lying. Unless you're under oath or something and they say, you know, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth and whatever, right? Then, yeah, withholding information would be considered lying because you will have lied about, you know, that you swore to tell the whole truth and then you didn't tell the whole truth. And so that was the lie, right? But in the case when somebody's asking how it's going, you can be judicious with the information you give people. And it's not lying, you know. I know we've touched on this before, but you know, a great example is, you know, 2,000 years ago, whether you're Christian or not, a man named Jesus existed, and he did stand before Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate asked him, "Hey, why are you standing up here next to me?" And Jesus said nothing for the longest time. He didn't say anything. He stood there silent. And clearly there was something going on here. And clearly people were accusing him of stuff. And clearly when Pilate asked him, you know, hey, what's going on here? An answer would have been readily available. But he still said nothing. So I'm not saying don't, but what I hope what I can do is I can just kind of set your mind and your heart a little bit at ease that you're not lying if you say nothing about it, right? If you to play things close to the chest, as the expression is, you know, to keep some things personal, to maintain confidence in certain areas, is an admirable thing, right? For instance, if somebody tells me something in confidence and says, hey, you know, I'm sharing this with you, please keep this between us. And then somebody directly asks me about what they said, I have a decision to make. Because if I divulge the information, then I've lied to my friend who wanted me to keep it in confidence. You know, I was acting dishonestly because I gave them the impression that they could trust me that I would keep this a secret. But then I go and blab it to somebody else, right? Then that is broken trust. That is me misrepresenting who I am and effectively lying in my actions. It's not, maybe I didn't tell a lie because I told the truth about what they said, but it was a performative contradiction. Now, what's that mean? I did something, I took an action that contradicted who I was, you know, saying I was, right? And that's being dishonest. So we run into situations like this. You know, we deal with these types of things all the time, and sometimes we have to be judicious about what we say. We can't always just say the whole of everything. So here's what I would tell you in this type of situation. If you really trust this person and you really know that they want to help you and you really know that you can trust them. I've said that twice now. Right? Because trust is hugely important. And then, if you're confident that, they can, sometimes we help people just by being a sounding board, just by allowing somebody to talk. So if somebody really just wants to hear you out, they really want to know what's going on, and they want to listen to you, and you feel that that's the case. So like a therapist would be a person to do that with, maybe a parent, maybe a counselor, maybe, a really, really close and trusted friend when it's just you two. Then, yeah, in those moments, I would express the things I needed to express. But most of the time, there's a lot of, I try and keep stuff personal. There are things that are personal. Interestingly enough, I share a lot of my personal life on this show. It's kind of funny. But there is stuff I keep personal. There is stuff that Ryan knows that nobody else that's watching this show knows about me.
I probably forgot it. I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I have close friends like that, that, they know me at a deeply personal level. And I know that if there's an issue that I can talk to them and they're going to, listen, they're going to offer something that's constructive, whatever. And it can be a really good thing. But don't be trapped by a feeling that says, hey, I'm being dishonest because when somebody asks me how I'm feeling, I didn't tell them everything. Because sometimes it's just not appropriate. Sometimes the relationship isn't to that level. Right? And so that's where it takes a little bit of discernment. And so I don't necessarily think you're hiding behind a lie by not sharing certain information in certain situations with people. I wouldn't call that lying at all. I would just call that being discerning. And that's an admirable thing to do, because seriously, I have a friend who tells me everything. And it's unsolicited. I don't ask. He just tells me everything. He's a friend of mine I've known since high school. He's just, he's a talker, man. He just talks. And he will give you every single detail about everything.
And the way he feels about those details.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. See, I don't even know the person.
Yep, that's right. Do you think I tell him my deepest, darkest secrets? No. Guy's a close friend of mine. He knows a lot of my secrets. He knows a lot of personal stuff about me, but I don't share with him everything. I only share with him the stuff that I am comfortable-ish with him sharing with everybody else. Because he's got a big mouth. Right? So it's okay. And anyway, to hide your feelings behind a lie, no. You say, should I hide my feelings behind a lie? No. But I don't think you're lying if you're just being, discerning about it. And so in that case, if you have feelings you need to express, then the appropriate thing to do is to find somebody that you trust that, is willing to, work through these issues with you, and who can actually help you. Because that's the other thing. I remember, listening to a radio show one time, and this person was like, they called in and they said, my family member has this issue going on, and I really feel strongly that I should confront them about it, and I should tell them what's what, because, I should be admonishing them for their sins or whatever, right? And so it's like, and so the radio host, who could be a therapist in his own right, I mean, the guy's good, right? But he says, well, that depends on the relationship. What kind of relationship do you have with this person? If you are absolutely confident that you are the right person at the right time to give them this information, and it actually is going to help and not just make them upset and, whatever, then maybe.
Yeah, then maybe.
Then you could think about it some more and decide.
Then you're delusional. No. Sorry.
But it really comes down to that relational connection, so to share fully with somebody requires that relational aspect. And if you don't have that with someone, you do not have an obligation to share everything that's going on with somebody just because they ask. And in the case of Jesus, the guy who was the head of the area that they lived in, what was he, the governor of the province or whatever, right? And
Yep. We'll call it was a state, I think. Actually.
Okay. Yep.
I think it was considered a state. I could be wrong. Anyways, the governor of that area.
Mm-hmm. And he just said nothing. He didn't lie. Because saying nothing, I mean, you can't really lie if you say nothing, right?
That's true.
But so anyway, I just want to, hopefully, Baka, that'll set your mind at ease. And I do have to also give you mad thanks. I don't think I thanked you. Last time we were on the Minecraft server, Baka helped me like mine out this whole tunnel area and everything. Like it was going to take a long time, and he went through and helped me with it. So Baka, I appreciate that a lot. I know it might seem like it's not a big deal, but it was a big deal to me because it was going to take a long time. But anyway, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. So Ryan, have at it.
Awesome. Joe, I mean, seriously, I think that was so great. You had so much, so many good things that you kind of went through in discerning. And I think that I feel like I have nothing much to say beyond that. Like you did a great job. I would, if you want, Baka, you can go back and play what Joe said again. Cause that's probably better than what I got to say.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. In my relationships with people, I find it more important to, how do I say this? Okay. If I'm having a bad time with something, right? Maybe I'm upset at something. Usually that goes back on me in my brain saying, hey, if you're having a bad day, then it's your own attitude. So don't expect somebody else out in the world to fix your attitude. That's your problem. Let me say this differently. I can't expect someone else out in the world to take responsibility for my problem. So when someone asks me how I'm doing, I think about that. I can't expect them to take responsibility for my problem. My problem is my attitude. I can't expect them to take responsibility for it. Meaning I can't expect them to fix it. I can't expect them to take all that weight of it. And so internally, whenever I am asked, like, hey, how are you doing? Even if something's going wrong, like if someone notices I'm having a rough time, most of the time I'll just be like, yeah, I'm going through something, but I'm going to figure it out. And that's what I say. Or maybe I'll give them the light load, right? Like, hey, you asked. And so you asked me specifically, like if it's a person I respect and I trust, right? And you asked me specifically, hey, how you doing? And you asked, and I know you asked because you noticed me. I know that you noticed how my attitude was. And if I realize that's what's going on, like they're not just like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? And I can tell that they're like, hey, there's something wrong. What's going on, right? There's a different attitude about that, right? And if they approach me that way, right? And they're a person that, let's say they're a person that I don't have any reason to tell what's going on. And it's not going to help them or me if I tell them, and I'm not that close to them. I'll just be like, yeah, I'm doing good. Like I've got this problem. I'm gonna solve it. So I'm doing good. If it's someone who I'm closer to, maybe I'll give more information, right? I'll be like, hey, this just happened. My friend, blah, 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 and me, blah, blah, blah. And I'll let them know about it. And then I'll see what they have to say. And then that's good. But I keep my attitude in check either way, because I have to remember my attitude is on me and it's not their responsibility. So when they ask me, like I said before, if someone asks me how I'm doing, it's boom, that's attitude check. Attitude check. Ryan, how's your attitude? And then I go, okay, let me fix that. Let me tweak that. Let me make sure my attitude's on spot. Mm-hmm. Have I smiled? Am I smiling right now? Let's smile. Let's smile when we're talking to people.
Smile, a real smile like this. Sorry.
Okay. Anyways, so again, I try to run that attitude check by myself because I remember, because I know like this person is not responsible for how I'm feeling. How I'm feeling is my responsibility. Even if someone else, maybe like they stomped on my foot on purpose, like they're just being mean. My attitude is still my own. My feelings are still my own. And my physical pain is caused by them. But how I'm going to react is caused by me. So that's my responsibility. So what am I going to do with that responsibility, right? And so if someone asks me again, how you doing? Most of the time, to most people, I'm just going to be like, I'm doing great. Even if something bad just happened in my life, I'm just going to be like, yeah, I'm doing great. Why? Because I can put my attitude on point and say, yeah, my attitude's in check. I'm doing great. My attitude is good. Right? But if it's someone I'm close to and they want to know the details, if I can tell that they want to know the details, then I'll let them know. Or some things are too personal, like, hey, my friend has this thing going on, so I can't really talk about it, but I can give you basic ideas, but I really can't give you much. Or if it's something that I'm going through and I don't want other people to know because it will put them at dis-ease or something, then I will just be like, yeah, I can't really share the details right now, but I will get through it. And don't worry about it. I mean, if you want, you can pray for me. And that's the thing. If you just tell people that usually puts them at ease. Because if you tell people I can't really tell you, then they're going to be like, now I really want to know, right? But if you tell them, you can pray for me, and pray maybe for a topic. You just say, pray for me for, I don't know. It could be whatever it is. Just say a little prayer for me. People will be like, okay, that's something I can do. So if they were looking to help, now they have a way. You've given them an option, and it makes it a lot easier for them to get over that question of now I really, really want to know, But anyways, that's my advice. I hope that's helpful, Baka. I'm going to ask to turn back over to Joe. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on to that?
Not really. I love what you were talking about there, Ryan. There, well, the whole time, and then also towards the end, where, if somebody wants to help.
I love the first bit, and then the middle bit, I also loved it. And the last bit, there was something in there, and then, but the whole thing was good. But the first bit, the middle bit, and the last bit. Then there was something I wanted to talk about in that last bit.
Yeah, that last bit. Yep, exactly. Asking somebody to pray for you, that's a really, really great thing to do. But that's also a thing of discernment as well. And I noticed Vanna put up there, a lie of omission is a thing, actually. And you're right, it is. Mm-hmm. There is such a thing as a lie of omission. And when we don't, or when we leave something out,
to deceive someone.
For the purpose of deception. However, we also have to, there's kind of a, there's an approach to take with people, and for lack of a better term, I will call it a pastoral approach. Like as a pastor, you're pastoring people, right? Because we kind of do that in a way. We're all kind of trying to work with people. We're all trying to help people in different ways. Like we love our friends, we want to help them out. And the best thing we can do is what's best for them at the time, right? And sometimes, withholding information, you have to, there are degrees of gravity. You have to think, okay, how important is this? How I guess it depends. Is this statement going to impact them in a good way or a bad way? And I would also think in the long run, because sometimes when we say something, it really hurts in the moment, but it needed to be said because it's going to bring out a better situation or a more honest situation, right? But sometimes just, if we're just brutally honest all the time in a brutal way, like really brutally, then I would say that's not really that great of a thing to be. If we go around telling people, you got hair growing out your ears and you're ugly and, like whatever, and it might be true. But really that's all a matter of opinion, whether somebody's ugly or not. That's a subjective thing, because something that's ugly to one person is beautiful to another person, right? My wife loves mushrooms, but they're the most disgusting thing ever.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
There are plenty of things more disgusting than mushrooms.
Okay, fine. But they are very disgusting. Anyway.
I like them.
That's fine. You
I like
can.
disgusting
I
things
will
around.
leave those for you. You can have as
Thank you.
many as you want. You can have mine. Whatever share of the mushrooms I was going to eat, you can have them. But anyway, yeah. So really, it does come down to discerning. And sometimes we just have to think before we say something. It really comes down to that. Have you ever been around a group of people that just says what's on their mind and then doesn't think about it? Are they fun to be around? They have a great time, let me tell you. I usually have a hard time because it's like, ow, you end up saying some really hurtful things. And then you can say, well, I just call it like it is.
Yeah, that makes it less hurtful.
No, you don't. Stop. Or I just call it like I see it. Like, who made you the ref, right? Like, but anyway, so I think, yeah, the whole point is, let's see the ones growing on the carpet. What could go wrong? Oh my gosh, yes, exactly.
Death immediately.
Eat those mushrooms. That'd be, nasty.
No.
But anyway, I did want to point that out because yes, that's so true, Vana, that we can lie by omitting things. But the question is exactly like what